What is going on, everyone? Hope you're having a fantastic day so far, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Strompfel, I'm your coach for the PSV Enteihoven, and it's going to be the premiere week for us in the ABC Season 3, going up against Devious and the Devious Kongs. I'm really excited to start the season. I'm very happy to try out all the new mons that I drafted. If you didn't see my draft recap that I did for the mons that I drafted for this season, make sure to check that out, because I'm going into way more detail on which mons that I picked and why in that video. And this video is more going to be oriented towards how I built with them to make sure that I win the Premier Week, because that's really important. You want to start the season with a nice win, which really boosts your confidence for the rest of the season. At least that's how I look at it. So really want to try and win this week. Devious has drafted a pretty scary team consisting of Lando I, which does have access to Sheer Force, and that's a major threat. And he has some other like threatening mons like Heatran, Mega Blastoise. I see a Among Us there, and people know that I love Among Us. I feel like its potential is sky high. And then there's some other stuff like Florges, Druddigon, and stuff that I am a little bit less worried about. But the main threats are like Lando I, Heatran, Mega Blastoise in my eyes. But some things that I want to take advantage of with Devious team, while it is very scary, it is that it is very heavily oriented towards the special side. I don't know if he realized that while drafting, but if you take a look at his team, like Lando I, Heatran, Mega Blastoise, all try to hit with special damage for the most part, like Earth Power and Heatran special, Mega Blastoise special, and even some of his walls like Among Us, Florges, mainly oriented towards the special side, which is great for me because I can utilize that to 2000% and focus my team more around special defense to take on Devious Ditto. You're going to see that with pretty much every single one of my team that had some sort of investment in special defense to take on hits and so on. We'll get to that in just a bit. So I started off this team by constructing a Choice Specs Keldeo, because looking at Devious Ditto's team, there is only one response to a Choice Specs Keldeo, and that's going to be Among Us. And I felt like, while Among Us is a very good Keldeo response, Specs Keldeo can muscle its way through it with the right team support. So I started off by just saying, fuck it, just gonna bring Specs Keldeo. Its speeder is amazing, its offensive power is amazing. I just want to come in, smash some hits, and maybe actually just clean up late game if I get the option to. I toyed around a little bit with the Hidden Power for this set. I opted for Hidden Power Ice, and that's pretty self-explanatory for Among Us and also for random Parasect. And I felt like Hidden Power Ice covered Druddigon too, so Hidden Power Ice it is. Speed mainly for Lando I, and some bulk to take I think it's Scarfed Modest Sidekick from a Landorus Incarnate, if I need to. If it is, I don't think it will be Scarfed, but if it is, might as well just run a little bit extra bulk and take that hit. Next up we got Porygon 2. Porygon 2 is a major annoyance for his team. As I said, I mainly see special threats on his roster, which means that Porygon 2 is going to be one of those mons that he's really going to struggle with breaking if I run a lot of Speed F, which you can see I do. I'm rocking like Recover, Ice Beam, Hidden Power Ground, and Toxic. Ice Beam is very spammable against his team, especially covered with the fact that I have HP Ground for Heatran and Toxic for a potential Florges. Other than that, I can just pretty much Ice Beam his entire shit. And the nice thing with Porygon is, of course, the traceability, because Trace is fantastic in this matchup. I can switch into Lando, get its Sheer Force. I can switch into Heatran, be immune against his fire attacks. Switch into Among Us, get a third of my health back when I switch out. I don't know what actually happens when I switch into a Ditto. I haven't actually toyed around with that, but in general, there are a lot of mons on my opponent's side of the field that I can copy their ability, which means that they really struggle to break me, and I feel like that's very cool. So yeah, Porygon 2 is looking to be a massive annoyance. It's one of those mons that it's my only response to like Lando I, and pivoting in on Mega Blast and stuff like that. It's going to be a nice way to just an all-around switching, which I found really nice. So right now we have Keldeo and P2. That was my main starting point. Felt like those two had great matchups. And I added Necrozma and Marvel next. So Necrozma is a very interesting set. It is a Safety Goggles Carmine set, and this is mainly directed towards beating Amoonguss, because I said from the beginning that Keldio's main response is going to be the Amoonguss. So if I have two things, you're going to see the next one is Marwell, but if I have two things that just comes in and abuses Amoonguss, he's going to really struggle, because either he brings Amoonguss and he puts himself in a better position versus Keldeo, but then I want to have other win cons that just abuses Amoonguss to the point where he pretty much loses by using it. And Necrozma's going to be one of them. Carmine Necrozma with SpDef investments is absolutely incredible versus him. There is not a single Pokemon, barring Sneasel, that can actually break this thing after I Carmined up, because my spread is tailor-made so I can like beat a Mega Blastoise 1v1, no matter if it's timid or modest. If it's timid, it's gonna outspeed me, but then after a Carmine, which probably Blastoise will switch in on me after I Carmined it once, Blastoise is not going to be able to break me at all. And if it's modest, I'm actually going to outspeed it, and I can Carmine, and modest Blastoise cannot flinch me down. That was the main idea with this set. Also, after a like 1 or 2 Carmine, I think it's 1 Carmine, Lando I cannot even 2-hit KO me anymore with special hits. Heatran, no way it's 2-hit KO on me, and I'm rocking that shit with Nerf power. Ditto, the nice with Necrozma is that it's so bulky, and Ditto probably will be Choice Scarfed to take on stuff like Garchomp and Keldeo. So Choice Scarf Ditto cannot break a Necrozma 1v1 because I'm way too fat and it's going to run out of PP, so that's not a way to do it. Florges, I'm Carmining up on Florges every single time, every single day. The only thing I'm a bit worried about is random Gothorita trapping me in, but apart from that, Necrozma is just going to abuse the Amoonguss, and if Amoonguss is not there, then Keldeo is going to win. Next up, we got a pretty SpDef and all-around sample Mega Marwell when you're facing off against a Heatran. I'm rocking Sub-Punch Marwell. It's one of those sets that you can kind of expect if you have a Heatran and your opponent has a Marwell. This Marwell, though, is very bulky on the special defensive side. I toyed around a little bit with the attack in SpDef, whether I should put Adamant or Careful. It turns out that I actually get more EVs in attack if I do Careful and put more in attack, rather than do Adamant and the other way around to reach the same benchmark that I wanted to hit. The SpDef is there, so Amoonguss cannot break my sub with HP Fire, and I'm talking like no special attack Amoonguss. If he's some sort of life or shit, then of course it's gonna break my sub. But in general, Sub Punch, really good because it just baits in Heatran and smashes it. Play Rough, amazing versus his team. When Heatran goes down, I am just gonna click Play Rough over and over, because as soon as Amoonguss comes in, then I can just sub up and Ice Punch that shit down, which means that yeah, Amoonguss is one of those things that he might think is a Marwell response, but I'm gonna try and abuse the Amoonguss with my Marwell in order for my Keldeo just to come in and click Water Move. So these two are like my Amoonguss counters or Amoonguss abusers. Next up we got Self Golisipod coming to week number 1, which I'm very happy with. I'm really excited to try out Golisipod because I feel like it is pretty good, but it's gonna be shown in this battle if I can do something with it or not. I'm rocking Citra Sprites, just if I get below 50, I can just go right over and maybe stay in for one more turn, get a Leech Life, get a Liquidation, maybe pick something up with Aqua Jet. The Aqua Jet is really good. If Lando I is weakened, I can just come in, pick that off, and it's going to be that. SpDef investment allows me to actually take, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I feel like it was a Heatran attack. So I can come in, take rocks, take one attack from Heatran, and with my Citrus Bear, I'll go over 50%, which means that I can stay in for one more round and threaten it with like an Aqua Jet or something. Or if I'm in versus the Heatran, I can threaten it with a Liquidation. I am not sent out by a Landorus Rock Slide as well. Life or Landorus Rock Slide, I should say, so that's amazing. Golisipod is so fat, and it's going to be so nice to play with. But in general, this is like one of my main responses to my own mons. Because if Ditto copies my Keldeo or my Necrozma, I can be in a bit of a pickle, because P2 can't really handle them, so I decided to slap on Necrozma, or Golisipod, which kind of beats my two own mons in Keldeo and Necrozma. Keldeo locks itself into any of these moves, Golisipod just comes in, and I can actually Leech Life 1v1 my own Keldeo if it is a Choice Scarf Ditto. And Necrozma, it has to lock itself into Psychic if it wants to beat my my Golisipod, but I can't really do that because I have Mawa right here, and I have Porygon, which can actually 1v1 it with Toxic. And Earthpower is not going to send me out at all, so I can first impression take out my own Necrozma if I need to. Last mon is going to be Garchomp. Garchomp is pretty fast and offensive, like my usual Garchomps with Dragonium Z. Just rocking like Stealth Dog, Sword Stance, Eldritch, Earthquake. Garchomp is absolutely incredible in the matchup. There's no real reason to run anything else barring this. He has one fairy that's Florges, and if I take that out, I'm just going to outrage his entire shit. And the combination of Dragon and Ground, incredible versus him. There's not a single Pokemon that wants to take both. Rocks can be important. It depends on if I see stuff like, I don't know, Mega Blastoise, which I want to chip down over time. Or maybe something like a Amoonguss, which I want to take more damage coming in on rocks for Keldeo or something like that. Otherwise, I'm just going to use this more of an offensive variant and just maybe Sword Stance up, maybe just drop my Z and Earthquake the rest of them. So that's going to be the team. I am pretty comfortable with this build in general. I felt like it's very good. Keldeo is amazing. I have two things that I've used as the one thing that can take out Keldeo. Porygon and Golisipod, main wolves, and Garchomp as the general joker of the squad. So yeah, that's going to be the team, and let's move right into the battle. So looking at the matchup versus Devious Ditto, we can actually see that he opted to leave the Amoonguss on the bench, which I found very interesting because, yeah, right now, water resist, and it's going to be the own Ditto switching in on Keldeo, and that's not going to end too well because that's easily 2-hit KO by Choice Specs Hydro Pump. So, yeah, the only thing really stopping me from clicking like water attacks safely, like Specs Scald, is going to be the Florges. So main game plan is going to be to try and weaken down the Florges, maybe even trade one of my Pokemon for the said Florges and just click Specs Scald versus entire team, because I'm going to claim one every time Keldeo comes in by then. So yeah, I have a lot of those mons that I can trade for Florges, thinking like Garchomp, maybe Necrozma, even though Necrozma looks incredible versus his team, because if I Calm Mind up, it's going to have a hard time revenge killing it. It did bring the Sneasel, and it could potentially have Encore on the Raichu, which is something I'm kind of looking towards. So Necrozma is not looking as good, but if I pivot in correctly, I can definitely do something with it. Mawile looking incredible as well. I can sub on Florges, I can sub on potential Ditto, copying like Porygon 2 and locking into Ice Beam. I can sub for sure on this Sneasel, and it's something I can abuse if it tries to revenge kill my Necrozma. Come into Mawile, I sub, Focus Punch this, and after that I can just click Player Off and everything will die. So thinking about a potential lead for this matchup, I felt like Garchomp was my overall safest bets because I can get up my rocks if I want to, but the main thing Garchomp offers for me is a way to deny rocks from my opponent, because I don't know which one of these are rocks quite yet. Judging by his team build, I can't say for sure whether this is some sort of like offensive Lando with Rock Polish or Carmine, and this is bulky Tran with rocks, or it can be the other way around, like this can be some sort of like lead hazard Lando, which a lot of breaking power even though it's rocks, and this can be some sort of Scarf Heatran, because that makes some sense too. But I can't really know for sure, but I felt like Garchomp can offer me a very good lead versus both of them, and it kind of leads well against everything barring Sneasel. So that's what I'm going to lead off with, and it turns out he actually leads with a Raichu. That creates a very interesting situation turn number 1, because obviously Garchomp, it is a ground type, but it's kind of bulky, and I can pretty much take anything this Raichu wants to throw at me, barring a Specs HP Ice. A Specs HP Ice has about a 25% chance to kill me, and yeah, I wasn't really about to risk that turn number 1, game 1 in the season, just risking my Garchomp, throwing it out there and see if I can live something. That's a gamble I'm not really willing to take. So I'm just going to pivot into Porygon 2 right away, because Porygon 2 can trace the Lightning Rod and pretty much wall the Raichu to hell and back. But he switches out, probably fearing a Choice Scarf Earthquake, goes right into his Landorus, as I actually traced the Landorus' Sand Force, and this was obviously a mistake by Devious Ditto. He didn't mean to run Sand Force, he meant to run Sheer Force, but, you know, team build slip-ups, they happen. But this is great for me because, yeah, this massive threat just became super nerfed in one turn, and then that was turn number 2 in the battle as well. So, yeah, great turn for me, scouting out the Landorus ability right away. Now, since my Porygon is in versus the Landorus, I felt like I was in a pretty commanding position, especially since he doesn't know my Porygon's moveset. I can easily run Ice Beam and just take this out. So there are a few things that Lando can do towards me. Either way, it's not going to be too bad. Felt like if he's some sort of like Life Orb set, he might just try to U-turn out or get up rocks. Maybe not get up rocks, but if he's some sort of Life Orb set, he probably is going to U-turn out or just hard switch out right now, fearing the Ice Beam. And if he is some sort of Yachi Berry set, he might throw off something like a knockoff or a raw Focus Blast or Super Power. And I felt like in either of those scenarios, I felt like going back into Garchomp was my overall best play. But he just says no to that and throws off a Life Orb Focus Blast, which does way more damage than I was anticipating. That was a super ballsy play. Porygon 2 would have just shrugged that damage off and kill it with an Ice Beam. But yeah, he didn't give any fucks, so he just stayed in with a Life Orb Lando and he chunked my Garchomp quite low. Which means that it kind of forces me into a situation where I can't risk too much health in my Garchomp, because if I try to Stealth Rock on a predicted switch out and he stays in as he did this turn, I'm just going to lose my Garchomp for rocks, which I'm not really willing to do, because the trade doesn't really seem worth it because Garchomp is so good versus his team. The other alternative is to go for the Raw Z, and if he switches out in Florges, it's a bit more fine, because then Garchomp is still at 51 and I can pivot in on Tran and do some magic with Garchomp later on in the game. So I felt like just throwing off my Z right away, even though Florges is quite a likely switch in, was completely fine, because Florges is one of those things that I can abuse with my team quite easily. So yeah, Florges comes in, I blow my Z for nothing, but it's totally fine. Garchomp is still sitting at 51, or 49, so it's completely fine. And this turn is actually quite interesting, because obviously I have a Mega Marvel in the back. And Mega Marvel can come in on Florges pretty easily and just substitute freely, focus punch the Heatran, and then play rough 5 times and win. And that's something I don't think Devious Ditto is willing to do. He's a pretty smart player overall. If he's trying to predict the Marvel coming in, he's probably going to try and pull a double to either Lando or the Heatran. I can be a man and stay in an Earthquake, but I'm not really willing to lose my chumps. I felt like a pretty good middle ground play for all 3 scenarios, and Flo just staying in or switching into these 2 boys in the back was going right into my Necrozma. And as I predicted, he actually goes into the Heatran, which is nice for me because I can just chip this down super low with a Earth Power, really chunking down the Heatran, and the following turn I can actually scare it out and get off my first Calm Mind. So he gets rocks in this trade-off, but I felt like I came out on top because now I'm sitting at +1 against the Florges, and I can use this Necrozma right now as a trade for Florges. I'm just going to try and do as much damage as I can to this Florges, and if I chunk this down to the point where it can't switch in on Keldeo, I pretty much win the game right now. So that's just what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep on Calm Minding up, see what this Florges wants to throw at me. Turns out to be a Wish, so he's probably some sort of like normal Wish protects Moonblast and some other sort of coverage room, maybe a Heal Bell, something like that. So I'm going to throw up an Earth Power. It was just, if he wants to pull a cheeky switch out into Sneasel, I can punish that, but he doesn't. He just throws out Moonblast, gets a special attack drop, but it does nothing. So I'm just free to get up another Calm Mind and go to town with the Necrozma, because it doesn't seem like he can do too much to me. So he's going to throw out a Wish. I'm going to now click the Psychic. It does 49, so this is really good damage for me. If I just keep clicking Psychic, Florges is going to be left super low, and that's exactly what I'm looking for with this scenario, Florges versus Necrozma. But he's going to reveal the Calm Mind, and that was a bit worrisome, because Calm Mind Florges was not something I really anticipated versus my team, because I have a Mega Marvel, but it's not too bad either. As long as I don't allow Florges to Calm Mind up to +5, I can still take two Moonblast with my Marwal and Revenge Killer with a Play Rough. So I'm not too worried about this, but it does mean that my Necrozma's job at keeping this low is going to be a little bit harder. But in general, I'm not too worried about like Carmine Floor just sweeping my team as long as I'm not allowing it to get too far. As long as he is at, I think I put down a note on my tablet saying like, yeah, if it goes to +3, I'm just gonna pivot into Mal and scare it out, something like that. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep on psychicking. Maybe I can get a crit, maybe I can get a special defense drop, something like. Oh yeah, Floor, I calm up again. But he actually is the one getting the crit, so that was a bit unfortunate. But now I'm just gonna start clicking Psychic. I'm gonna see how low I can get this Florges, so my Keldeo pretty much can win. So this was a pretty controversial turn. Obviously, Necrozma is very good versus his team, but as I've stated multiple times, I'm just using this as a way to weaken Florges down. So I felt like my play was with 200% just go for the Psychic. Keep this Florges low, revenge kill it whenever I can. And he actually clicks Wish this turn, which was good because it doesn't kill my Necrozma. And this puts me in a very commanding position because obviously he has to protect this turn. If he doesn't, he's just going to lose his Florges for no reason. And that means my Keldeo just wins. So he has to click Protect. I'm just going to predict that and click the Moonlight. But he makes the weirdest play of the game and just switches into his Ditto. And I know that he knows that this was a massive misplay. He calls this a choke, he calls this a throw. I wouldn't go that far to call this a choke or a throw. It was just a massive misplay. Choke or a throw would indicate that he was in a winning position, and I can tell you right now he wasn't. As long as I had Mawal, the Carmine Florges would never be able to win the game, especially from that position that he was in. But the misplay was definitely a misplay because now he did a few things. He pretty much sacked off his Florges for no reason because he can't really wish protect on anything on my team. He gave my Necrozma health for absolute no reason, since Necrozma is now sitting in a marvelous position at half health with a Ditto versus it, which can't really break it, and the fact that Ditto is in, which means that it's one of the things I can actually calm mine up on if I want to, but I'm not going to do that. I felt like +3 is enough to the point where I still is able to check my own Necrozma if I end up getting out of this, if this situation actually becomes a bit scary. So he's gonna start earth powering me down. I'm just gonna Moonlight up. I'm just gonna earth power him one more time, and then this turn is actually quite interesting because I think he will think that I will Moonlight this turn because I did it last time. So I'm just gonna click earth power now instead. It works out. He goes into Sneasel and he just throws it out. So down goes the Sneasel. Necrozma gets the first kill. And yeah, Lander comes in, tries to flinch me down, which he actually can do now that he is sent for, so that's pretty funny. But yeah, it's not going to happen. Necrozma claims a second kill, and spoiler alert, this is pretty much going to be the end of the game. Ditto's going to come in a few times, try and like heal up, and then have to switch out again due to the Choice Scarf lock. But it's not going to work out because Necrozma is a beast. So yeah, that's pretty much going to be the end of the week number 1. Necrozma really pulling its weight, pulling its team on its back, and I'm just putting it up fast so we can see what ends, how this game ends. So yeah, Necrozma really putting the team on his back, carrying the team this week 1. We end up actually getting a 6-0 win versus the Devious Kongs and Devious Ditto. So yeah, GG to Ditto. It was a pretty weird game. I felt like he played pretty well early game, and then the Florges play just made him instantly lose, which was a bit unfortunate. And yeah, with this matchup, there wasn't too much that he could have done. I felt like I had a pretty good matchup in this game in general. So yeah, I'm just if you can see, I just go into the Golisipod just to finish the game off a little bit quicker. As you can see, Golisipod getting a kill. Shoutouts Cav, shout out my man for inspiring me to pick up Golisipod. Got a kill game 1. It didn't even get sent out by a +3 earth power. So yeah, pretty good mon. But overall, it was a pretty good game versus Devious Ditto. You can go check him out in the description down below. But yeah, that's going to be week number 1. Nice 6-0 for the PSV Enteihoven. Nice start to the season. We're really trying to tear it up here in the 3rd season of the ABC. So next week we're facing off against someone. Can't really say for sure, but yeah, that's going to be it. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.